Welcome in. I'm Sam Monson. He is Zach Robinson. And today we're going to be diving into training camp previews, this time the San Francisco 49ers. Zach, the biggest story for the 49ers has got to be, can Jimmy Garoppolo maintain the crazy level we saw at the tail end of last season?
No, it was incredible. I mean, obviously we saw just the level of play the entire team raised when he came in, went on that 5-0 stretch. Now teams have a lot more tape on him. They've seen, 5 full games. How are they going to adjust to his style of play? Kyle Shanahan's style of play calling for him is definitely going to be a key to watch.
I mean, the most impressive thing from my perspective watching Jimmy G last season, obviously he transformed that team the moment he stepped on the field. But when he carved up the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, a playoff-bound defense that was giving Tom Brady problems in the playoffs, he went out there and cut them to ribbons like they were nothing. That's next level stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that he does in terms of what you're looking for today's NFL quarterback, accuracy underneath, athleticism, bootleg outside the pocket, and then he can extend the play as well as anybody in the NFL. And you saw all that stuff come together in that game. Tight coverage, throwing accurately. The biggest thing I think in terms of what you want to see next year is there more 20-plus plays. There was only 4 of 16 last year on 20-plus plays, throwing the ball down the field. Does he have that arm talent to kind of consistently push down the field, or is he just going to pick apart guys and extend the play, win on third down, and win in the red zone?
So Jimmy G has looked like a stud from the outset. We're starting to get more and more tape, more and more backup with that idea that he is the real deal. They've paid him. That second-round trade with the Patriots is starting to look like an absolute steal. But moving on to other areas to watch for the 49ers during training camp, who are their edge rushers, and why do they have so many three-technique players that are all looking to play the same position?
I don't know. You look at up and down the roster trying to find just one guy even, and it's tough to piece together how they're going to do it. Are they going to somehow schematically try to scheme up more pressures? It's not really in that system to come after you with a lot of blitzes, but how are they going to get one-on-one isolations for some of these inside guys to help out on the back end?
I mean, it's the same problem they had a season ago, and they don't seem to have done an awful lot to address it. And we already have seen that it doesn't really work for what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
No other evidence more clear than what happened to Solomon Thomas last season. He entered the league as an interior pass rusher at Stanford, and he was really good at it. 91% of his snaps there his final season at Stanford were as an interior defensive lineman, a three-technique type of pass rusher. And that earned him a 92.7 overall PFF grade that final year. But in the NFL, that dropped to just 29% lined up as an interior guy. He was predominantly a legitimate edge rusher, and his grade went through the floor. 53.2 overall grade, one of the worst pressure rates in the entire league. The only way of rescuing him is to get him back inside where he's at his best. But looking at that roster right now, he's probably going to be the guy that has to play on the edge again. And the guys that they brought in, guys like Kentavious Street in the draft in the 4th round, even when he's healthy, again, he's another guy who may be best inside. It's difficult to see where the edge pressure is going to come from.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. You got Cassius Marsh. They bring over Atashu from the LA Chargers. Some of those guys, I mean, you're just going to have to kind of trial by error and see how they can get there. But schematically, how are they going to just kind of scheme this thing up to try to generate more pressures and free up those guys for one-on-ones?
The other option, of course, is Steve Palazzolo's patented 7-man 3-tech defensive system. You stack them all up, let them run all through the B-gap one after the other. I can't see why it wouldn't work. Elsewhere, though, we've got to look at Richard Sherman. Big offseason acquisition from the Seattle Seahawks. Can he still be Richard Sherman, the guy we know after that Achilles injury? 30 years old now, and an Achilles injury is the kind of thing that can really set back a guy that relies on explosion like a defensive back.
No kidding. I mean, I certainly don't want to bet against Richard Sherman, as we've seen throughout his entire career, but tough injury to come back from. Even last season, he was tailing off his play just a little bit, kind of highest passer rating against him his entire career, lowest PFF grade as far as last year as well. But I certainly don't want to bet against him. It obviously doesn't make it any easier of what we were just saying with the edge pressure and being able to generate pressure. But he's a guy that if he still has that kind of fight in him and still can have that high-level play, I think it's there.
When you look at the PFF numbers on Richard Sherman, they are kind of amazing. One of the highest numbers in terms of coverage snaps per target, coverage snaps per reception. Broadly speaking, he's been the toughest defensive back, the toughest cornerback to complete a pass on since he's been starting for the Seahawks. 93.6 career PFF grade. His career completion percentage, including the playoffs, just 48%. Under 50% in any given season is an incredible number. 48% for a career is just otherworldly. And his passer rating allowed is just 53 over his career, again, including the playoffs. You know, quarterbacks now, the average passer rating is in the 90s over the league, and he's allowing one in the 50s. So if you're targeting Sherman, your passer rating is dropping by 40 points over his career. And those are just nuts numbers. So that's going to be fun to see if he can do it. The position battle to watch, though, for the 49ers. We talked about a couple. Left guard is an interesting one. The other linebacker spot opposite Reuben Foster. But the wide receivers, I think, is going to be the most fascinating battle to watch over camp because it's all of them.
Right, I agree. Yeah, you got Marquise Goodwin, who had a good season last year. Pierre Garçon coming off an injury. Trent Taylor really proved to be a kind of a security blanket for Jimmy Garoppolo down the stretch. They had a lot of chemistry, quick separator in the slot. And then the guy that I like a lot is Dante Pettis from Washington. He's kind of a guy that can line up in a bunch of different spots. You can give him reverses, trick plays, get him down the field. I think of all those guys to kind of emerge, and it might be Dante Pettis.
Yeah, and it's going to be, there's some fascinating balance within that receiving corps. There's a lot of disparate skill sets in there. I think they're going to find a way to get a lot of those guys on the field at the same time and form this balanced, well-rounded receiving corps around Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's going to do it for us for the 49ers training camp preview. Make sure you hit the like button, you hit the subscribe button. It does us a world of good with the YouTube guys, and you can find all of our training camp previews elsewhere on the PFF YouTube channel.